That alone, verse 75. Nature is water. The body is foam. The self is the depth. I am, thus a restless repetition like a series of waves. Every inner blossom of knowledge attained is a pearl. Indeed, whatever each finds delight in is the nectar of immortal bliss. Commentary. In the transactional world, our main source of knowledge is through perception. We perceive with our senses and thus get what we call direct experience. When you directly experience something, it leaves no doubt in your mind about the validity of its existence. You don't have to consult anyone. If you drink water, you know it is water. If you are eating something, it is up to you to decide whether it is tasty or not. When it comes to higher knowledge, knowledge of the self or the absolute, the perception of the senses is not considered very competent to give you right knowledge. And since you have not experienced the absolute or the self in a way that you can recall, the method of inference is also not valid. Your only recourse is to turn to another person you believe has experienced it. But if another person is to pass on to you an experience which he has had, he cannot enter into you and give it to you directly. He can only describe it in various ways. One method which is considered to be very effective for this kind of description is to give analogies. Isaac Newton wanted to prove there is a gravitational pull towards the earth. We can't see the pull, so he proved it with an analogy. He took an apple, left it in mid-air, and it fell to the ground. That we can easily visualize. Is it gravity? No, it is the fall of an apple. He said, what you see as the fall of an apple is only an external thing. The principle implied in it is the attraction of gravity. Although we still don't understand it, now we feel as if we have. The heart of an analogy is an a priori revelation through word wisdom. When a master or guru opens up a great secret to a disciple, on his side is a belief that what he has attained is attainable by others. He sees the one self in himself and in all, which is the source of all knowledge, and which lends its light in the form of reason in order for us to comprehend. He puts his trust in that self. He sees his unity with others via the link of the self, and thinks, because of this homogeneity, what I have experienced I can reveal to others, and they will understand it. They may also even get the same experience. The place experiments have in a science lab is the same that analogies have in Vedanta, and to some extent in Christianity. Jesus Christ taught with parables, stories, ideograms, and analogies. He gave a number of examples to make it clear what the kingdom of God is. Sri Ramakrishna taught everything using simple stories, while Narayana Guru relies a great deal on analogies. One of Narayana Guru's favorite analogies is the ocean. There are so many ways to appreciate it. Analogies of the ocean have called to poets, writers, and adventurers throughout the ages. Maxim Gorky, the Russian writer, wrote a beautiful short story about a storm petrel, a kind of bird which is very fond of storms. In it he paints a wonderful picture of the sky becoming overcast, growing dark, the wind blowing harder and harder, and the waves roaring and leaping to the sky. Then, as the dark clouds close in, the lightning shoots out of them like great snakes, spitting their venom into the sea, where the waves are lunging and churning. The little bird wanted to fly when the wind and driving rain made it almost impossible. Gorky describes how he flew on and on into the raging storm. On one hand is the vast ocean, the tempestuous sky, the roaring waves and the menacing clouds. On the other is only the little bird, the one beautiful thing in all the vast, chaotic world. There is a terrific struggle, but at last the wind subsides. The clouds dissipate, the sea becomes calm, and the sun again bathes the scene. Only then does the bird fly to land, as if it has won a victory over the ocean. All in all, it is a very thrilling picture. When you think of the ocean like that, it is full of wrath and cruelty. Death and destruction lie in its depths. If you taste it, it is salty, bitter. It is dangerously deep. In the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, Coleridge describes another kind of sea with no wind at all. A boat lies in mid-ocean with emptiness on all sides. There is nothing but hopelessness, frustration, the ghastly visage of death. There is no water to drink, though the boat is surrounded by water everywhere. So the theme of the ocean has been used by many different authors to bring home ideas about the world in which we live and the nature of our life. When the ocean is treated as an analogy for the great misery one has to deal with in life, it is called Bhavasagara, the ocean of becoming. It is an ocean of duality. The same ocean can be looked upon as an ocean of awareness. You can sit on the beach on a moonlit night and look up into the clear sky, full of shimmering stars, and out of the silvery crowns of each wave, soaking up the rhythmic music of the pulsating ocean. Each wave comes to your very feet, leaves a line of white foam with a gentle lap, and then recedes. It is so rhythmic, you can always anticipate how far it will come up and how it will slip away again. As it goes, it leaves behind endless sparkling bubbles of foam, shining like diamonds. The waves come and go, soothing the mind. As you look into the infinite range of the ocean, your mind also becomes very expansive. As the waves roll in, your time sense becomes, on one hand, limited to the event of one wave turning into foam. The relation of the next wave to the previous one, and those to the one which has already changed into foam, is the essence of the content of time. On the other hand, you are aware that before you were born, and even before human beings came to exist on this planet, the sea was there. The waves were coming and going, even as they are now. And even when we are long gone, the sea will still be changing into waves. Thus, eternity is there. In the heart of eternity is a temporal sequence, and in the temporal sequence is pure duration. This gives us quite another idea of the ocean. This kind of picture comes when we analogically look upon the ocean as an ocean of knowledge. One becomes contemplative in such an atmosphere. We see that the ocean has a surface and that there is also a depth to it. There is water at the surface, in the middle, and at the bottom. It has no special feature of its own, but when we look at its depth, it gains a great deal of meaning. As in our meditation on the last verse, there is a ground and also a surface where the modulations take place. In the analogy of the present verse, nature is equated with water. Each tiny little bubble of the white foam, which is so well rounded and glossy, looking bright and dark at the same time, while on the surface of it we see many colors, is like a monad. Its inside is also the outside, in the sense that all that it reflects comes from the outside, but is seen to be inside it. Like that, although we are within the world, each of us contains a universe structured out of our own constructs, our own percepts. Even when two people seem to have great love for each other, how often does one turn to the other and say, "I don't understand you"? How could they understand? How does one bubble get inside another bubble? One foam cannot be another foam. The world is just what is mirrored from your position. A bubble placed over there and a bubble placed here are both mirroring the same world, but from their own unique perspectives. There are many kinds of spatial and temporal differences. While relative factors make some things clear and some things obscure. We shouldn't be surprised by any amount of confusion, only by how much agreement actually takes place. In one sense, we are in the world. In another sense, we are the world. Each one of us, at the level where we equate ourselves with a simple bubble in a mass of foam. One bubble and another are basically water. We are all of the same ocean. In the self, we are one. In the content of the self, we are one. Only in the various formations, the different motes, do we have differentiating attributes. Each wave symbolizes a certain movement of consciousness, as I am listening to you. That's one I. I appreciate what you say. That's another aham. I don't like it. Another aham. Or I like it very much. Another aham. It depresses me. Aham. It hurts me. Aham. The I and me, which come one after another, are as endless as waves on the ocean, while at the same time each formation of the I perishes in the very next moment, just as waves expend themselves on the shore. The perishable is also imperishable. Each wave perishes, but in its place another comes. So it is as if it never perishes. Aham, aham, I am. The Guru says of this, Turmi Jalam. One of the senses of the word Jalam is magic. The formations of the aham or I sense are like magic. At one moment the I identifies itself with a happy state and laughs. At another time the same I identifies with something terrible and weeps unconsoled with anguish. The ocean has in its depths lustrous pearls, muttu. Those who delve into it get the pearls. Pearls are not gathered from the surface of the seas. For that attainment, you have to verticalize yourself. The verticality of our self promises us the pearl of life. The wave cannot do anything to reach the depths of the ocean without losing itself. When you lose yourself, it doesn't matter. You become the ocean, because you are in it and you are of it. The same particles which constitute a wave are now finding their individual descent to the very depths of the ocean. The ocean subsumes the wave. When you are not separated from the ocean, you are the whole. Your minds are so conditioned by contracts. Life is taught to us to be like a contract. You give something and then you get something. You produce something and then you are given some time off. You sow and then you reap. But in higher nature, you don't get what you sow. You are reaping what was sown by someone else, and you are sowing for someone else to reap. The key is there is no difference between that someone and you if you have a verticalized vision. Only when you look at it horizontally is there a difference between one person and another. That's why you need to have a universal vision to understand the full import of this verse. Next, the Guru says that when the individuated consciousness turns inward, it finds something like a honey-filled blossom. The honey isn't on the tip of the petals. It is kept hidden deep inside. Like that, in your own depth is a honey which is as precious as a rare pearl. This turning inward is a difficult process. In the Katha Upanishad is a wonderful section where the sage finds fault with the Creator for creating all the senses turned outwards, so that the interaction between the individuated I consciousness and external objects becomes very strong, and turning inward is very difficult. But if the wave sees that its fate is to become a perishing foam, this externality is not so very tempting. Knowing one's own self, as Socrates put it, becomes of greater importance. Then turning inward, which is all the Guru asks, brings you to the pearl. He adds that the knowledge which comes from this is like the elixir of immortality. Here you truly relate yourself with your ground. In the perishable, you truly find the imperishable. Change and the changeless are nowhere held so closely together. This is not really anything which needs to be elaborated upon. It is for you to see and understand where and in what sense this is your nature. Outside it is spring. We can review the past and think of the millions and millions of spring seasons that have come and enriched the world. All the flowers that have blossomed and fruits that were born, and feel how we belong to that nature and it belongs to us. Once we too were flowers and fruits. We were little plants and big trees, butterflies, fish swimming in running brooks, birds winging through the sky. We are the essence of all that. In us the whole universe has lived so many times before. These thoughts should bring us to a great kinship with nature, a great sense of belonging. It is no wonder we feel inspired when we walk in the forest. It is as if we hear the silent voices of the trees, communing with our spirits. Possibly they were once human beings like us, or else we were trees standing with them, side by side, our branches gently swaying together in the breeze. Franz Kafka wrote a story imagining his life as a dog, among other dogs. Try to picture how it would feel to be a dog meeting other dogs on your rounds through the neighborhood. Children can more easily imagine it, but it is hard for us. Kafka, of course, could. What a beautiful mind he had that could so clearly see itself in so many unusual situations. Kalidasa had the same ability. When Shakuntala was being adorned by her ashram sisters to be sent to her husband, they wanted to pick jasmine flowers to decorate her hair. But she said, "No, no, it's also time for the marriage of the jasmine with the mango tree, so please don't take her flowers." When an ashram deer that was pregnant came and tugged at her sari, she turned and looked at it, patted it, and then asked Anasuya and Priyamvada to take care of her when she brought forth her little one. Thus the jasmine, the deer, and the human could all blend into one life. Such was the lucidity of Kalidasa's mind. No line was drawn between the human, vegetative, and animal worlds. All was to be for the good of all. You get a meaningful picture of the ocean of Samvit only when you make yourselves lucid like that. You have to take away the rigidity of your individualization, that brick into which you are baked and made so brittle. You have become a block, brazen, stony, dead. Nothing can get inside you anymore. You cannot be lively. This kind of understanding needs so much inner flexibility. You should melt. You should flow. You should soar off on the wafting wind like a sprightly fairy, playing in it, singing songs of joy. You should chase the stars and dance on the moonbeams. Why not? Such is the beauty we have within us if we wish to live it. But we have become boorish. We sit with heavy head and heavier heart, waiting for someone to do something for us. And who is going to do anything? Even sitting there and fantasizing is better than boredom. Narayana Guru brings two things together when he says aham aham ennallenuddu. There is an agony in going on holding tightly to this identity of the I and I and I. The same I can become a great enjoyer by reversing itself, by turning inward and diving to the vertical depth of the ocean. How? By allowing itself to perish. The block must die to free the life inside. From Jesus, we have this priceless analogy. The grain that tries to save itself will perish, and that which gives itself to perish becomes greater 100-fold. This living truth manifests in manifold forms. I admire the secret of this analogy, not the contract of it. Many are caught in the contractual element in it. Oh, if I give this, then you will give me that. Great. This is how the church has become a commercial enterprise. They only look at the contractual part of what Jesus said. If you praise in secret, you will be rewarded in public. Is that so? Then I shall pray 3 times privately and let everyone know I was being good, so that I'll be sure to get my reward in public. The stress is once again outside with the ego. What does it matter if others know or not, if you are sipping the honey within? I hope all the limbs of the analogy are clear now. Nature is water, the foam is us, and the restless waves are the ego sense, I am, I am. The honey that wells up within is the flower of your own heart, and the knowledge flooding in is the pearl. Your act of enjoying it is the experience of immortality. This is all put together in one verse. One very important point to note in Narayana Guru's work is that, unlike many other teachers, he does not brush aside any instance of joy. If you experience it, no matter if it is inside or outside, or in things which are trivial or serious, to him every enjoyment brings a vertical relation between the ground and the moat. You tend to forget that there is a vertical participation in it. But if you remember it, every item of joy is a joy of the Absolute. And the free translation of verse 75 is as follows. It is as if we are in an ocean of consciousness. Nature can be equated with the water. The self is the ocean, while the body is like the foam. What constantly arise as I are the waves. The flowerings of knowledge in the mind are pearls. What each person enjoys is the nectar of immortal bliss.